All right, thank you for joining me here today. All y'all that are present, I'm Weston Martinez, president of the Voter Fraud Bureau of Investigation and one of the voter fraud uh, leading experts in Texas that's been working on fighting voter fraud for quite a while. Today, we're coming to you with a report of some things that are happening in Bexar County, and I don't think it's limited. There are possible other local elections where this is taking place. But in Bexar County, we are receiving information about election machines that do not have zero tapes on them, and that means that there is not a tape that says, "Hey, this machine was zeroed out when this election started for the municipal election." Obviously, the problem with that is that if we don't know that we've started at zero, how do we know what we actually started at? So today, what we're talking to you about is the fact that this is an issue that is taking place here in Bexar County right now in these municipal elections with the city of San Antonio, and that as the Voter Fraud Bureau of Investigation, we are monitoring this, and we are also going to be looking at conducting a recount on different boxes inside of these elections, and I'm certain that all candidates involved are going to be willing to be a part of that because I'm sure that they all want transparency. We will release an official statement letting you know about what candidates are willing to allow those votes to be scrutinized and find out what ballots have been submitted to ensure the integrity of the selection. But not only that, we've also got affidavits that are in transit that are talking about poll watchers following uh, folks that are turning in the cards, and that when they went to follow the election judge to turn in the cards, which is not illegal, it is part of the process, and that when they went to do that, the election judges are getting in the car and speeding off down the highways in excess of 70 and 80 miles an hour, making the poll watchers feel as if they're trying to be lost. It's also being reported that other people are getting into the cars with the election judge. So we are working on getting a chain of custody on that information and working on getting sworn affidavits on that information. But it is enough concern of us to hold this press conference today and advise the public that there are no zero tapes on the municipal election machines. So I don't care if you're in a runoff in what part of the city. This is something that we need to change, and also we are looking at helping to be involved in recounting certain precincts in these municipal elections. There is not a legal requirement to conduct a recount on every single precinct inside of an election. And we think that by employing this particular strategy, it actually makes it harder for individuals that are conducting voter fraud. It makes it harder for them to actually cheat. So we want integrity in the ballot. This is not a Republican or Democrat issue. This is a Texas election issue. Also, when we talk about election reform at the state level, we were working this legislative session to get different ballot measures, different things changed. And this particular situation that we have is listed on the Facebook page of the Voter Fraud Bureau of Investigation. And if you go down and read Section H of the Texas Administrative Code, it says that these zero tapes shall be applied to these machines. However, it's administrative code, it's not election law. So that means that the individuals, like the election administrator, it is up to them and their discretion whether or not they want to enforce that. Yes, let me repeat. That means it is up to them whether or not they want to enforce that. And that is one of the reasons why we need to have election laws updated, not only in the state of Texas, but around the country. And we're talking to folks in Georgia and other locations about having election laws updated to fix things like this. Because if we don't fix gaps and loopholes in the system, then people that are nefarious are going to continue to find ways to exploit those loopholes for improper gain. So this is something that we have come across. We are bringing it now to the public. Any tips on voter fraud, You can send emails to tips@voterfbi.com or tips@vfbi.com. And we've received some just since the last general election, and we received it from Democrats and Republicans. And we need to have these election laws updated. We need to have secure and safe elections. If you need to contact me via social media or on the email, and we will make sure that we are bringing elections with integrity to the state of Texas and to the rest of the United States. Those are the comments that I had prepared for today's press conference. I wanted to leave it open for questions and remarks to the media and those that showed up. So at this time, we'll take questions from anybody that would like.
So the tips you're getting, how do you vet the tips and I guess find out the validity of the accusations?
So two things in the validation process of tips, much like law enforcement, you know, the type, the scenario they're presenting, are they presenting something that is one-dimensional where they're targeting somebody, or are they targeting a response, an issue? And then what is their desired outcome and effect? Are they actually presenting something that would require or promote change in a positive direction for integrity and for accountability for all parties, whether they're Republicans or Democrats? Those are some of the things that we weigh into when we're looking at vetting these different tips that are receiving. Like I said, we've received tips from Democrats and Republicans. I've received tips from Democrats, Democrats on Republicans, and Republicans on Democrats. So it seems like a bipartisan concern, as it should be, and we need to root it out.
And I guess the organization,
Voter Fraud Bureau of Investigation was
tell me a little bit about that.
so that organization was created out of the November election. Myself and some others worked directly with a national organization called Project Veritas, which was directly involved in the arrest of a local Bexar County resident who was arrested and detained by the Texas Attorney General related to voter fraud. And out of that spun the idea for the organization to be focused on voter fraud, and that it was something that needed to be done in a full-time manner in between legislative sessions in Texas, but in other parts of the country, because we've seen some similarities and we've also seen some differences. In Bexar County, we know that Democrat County Commissioner Tommy Calvert Jr. issued a formal letter to Nelson Wolff stating that there were election errors and that people that were elected should not have been and people that were not elected should have been. And the response from the county judge was he didn't see a problem with the elections. So when you have a Republican like me and a Democrat like Tommy, and we're both saying the same thing, we're saying that there's voter fraud, there are elections that are not being held with integrity, then it doesn't matter where you live in San Antonio, we should all come together to resolve this issue. And the elections department here in San Antonio is directed on what they can and cannot do. And so we're imploring all of the staff and the leadership to do what they can, and then also work with us to change the laws so that they can do more. Because statutorily, there are some limitations, and that's why election integrity at the state level and reform at the state level is and was necessary. And hopefully, in the special session, we'll see Governor Greg Abbott calling for that.
Well, I guess what do you hope for from here? I mean, you brought up the topic. Where do you hope to go from here now that you've published your findings?
Well, so what we hope to happen is two things. One, we want to turn the eyes of the public onto the process. We want them to keep an eye on everybody that's going in and out of a voting center. We want everybody to keep an eye when they go to vote, keep an eye on the process. We also want to make sure that people actually go out and vote. You could possibly have an election stolen from you because your candidate is actually being worked against. So we want to make sure that people are out there taking part in the process, helping us and helping them validate the process so that we can ensure election integrity takes place no matter who wins and no matter who loses.
What do you say to the people who have doubts guess, the voter fraud thing. I mean, there, the last election, there was tons of voter fraud, but then they came and claimed, okay, there wasn't. So, what would you say to people who believe otherwise?
Well,
How do you convince them?
sure,
And
sure. So I can tell you that the Texas Attorney General cannot just arrest somebody or detain somebody on a whim. They have to have legal evidence and proof in order to do that. If not, then they open themselves up to a wide lawsuit. Just like district attorneys here in Bexar County are only able to issue a prosecutory ruling if something is taking place. They can't just do something because they want to. That would be against the law. And in this case, when you look at the people that gave responses, the woman that was arrested gave her own response unvetted, unfettered, with a friendly news media outlet to just let her say whatever she wanted. And I can tell you that there's evidence in her comments that most certainly prove what was going on. I'm not going to disclose that because obviously there's still an investigation going on. But I can tell you, in even her defense, she incriminated herself even further and even greater, and incriminated all those involved with that organization. That organization is working on things not only in Bexar County, but in other parts of the state as well. And again, I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican or an independent, we all want elections with integrity. We want every vote to count that's a legal voting citizen, and we don't want any illegal votes to count no matter what. All right. Thank you very much for your time.
get that mic off.